Hello, everyone. I know we have a good number of you who have already joined for our session, which will begin at 2 p.m. Eastern, pretty much on the dot. But this is the return of in-room auction events. It's a very powerful webinar. We're looking forward to having you join us. If you are here and you'd like to say hello, I would just introduce you to the chat box or the question box, and by all means say hello, where you're from, and if you can see the slide that is up with the title, that'd be great. And if you can hear us, certainly let us know that as well. But it'll be pretty silent for a little bit as we have people coming in, and we'll be starting shortly. I'll be doing a few more warnings as we kind of come on, and I'll let you know right now that the entire session will be recorded, and we'll be providing everyone with a great takeaway. As soon as it's available, you'll have an on-demand recording along with copies of the presentation that's happening today. So thank you again for joining us, and again, please say hello. Hello, everyone. My name is David Jost. I'm Chief Marketing Officer for Arreva and MaestroSoft, and I just want to welcome you. We're about 5 minutes away from today's session, but I just want to make sure for those of you who keep coming in and joining us here that you are in the right place. You're here for the return of in-room auction events. We're going to share a number of things, including the Boys and Girls Clubs of Coachella Valley success story on raising more than $1.2 million. Lots of great stuff happening today, so we're glad you could join us. We'll be starting in just about 5 minutes. In the meantime, I want to let you know that this session will be recorded. Everyone who's here for the session today will be receiving a recording afterwards as soon as it is available. So feel free to take notes, but don't feel compelled to do so. Just sit back and enjoy. This is going to be a very interactive session. You have a chat box and you have a question box in your Zoom control panel, which we invite you to use. In fact, even right now, if you can hear me, and you can see our opening title slide, I would appreciate it. Just give us a heads up and let us know that that is the case. If you have any questions, enter them in the chat box and in the question box throughout. We'll be talking more about that. But again, we'll be starting in just about 5 minutes at this point now, and I'll probably come back in at least one more time. So thank you. Hello, everyone. We're just about 2 minutes away from starting today's session. I want to welcome everyone who's joined us and thank everyone who's heard me make this announcement for the last few minutes for your patience. Just a couple of details. We'll be starting shortly. You are here for the return of in-room auction events. It's going to be a very powerful webinar. We're looking forward to this today. Very interactive as well. So please get yourself acquainted with the chat box and the question box in your Zoom control panel. And if you want to test them out, just drop a hello and let us know where you're coming from. And and that you can hear and see everything just fine today. If there are any issues, we do have our team on board here. They'll try and help you resolve them, but do rest assured there's no need to take notes or be overly concerned if you miss something, because we will be sharing an on-demand recording out afterwards. So just really get involved and sit back and enjoy, and we'll be starting again very shortly. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get us started in just a moment here. I want to welcome everyone who's joined us. We do have people still filing in, but don't be concerned if you stepped in and it sounds like we've already started to move forward. We will be recording the entire session as soon as I do an intro here, and the entire recording, as well as the slide presentation, will be available to you on demand as soon as that is available. So I'm going to do a pretty hard, beginning intro with this. So I'll be pausing for just a moment, then I'll do an introduction and we'll get started so that we have a good, clean recording. I'm also going to turn off all of my devices, invite the panelists as well to do that. I keep finding more. That's kind of the state of things these days. So if you see me tossing my watch over my shoulder, that means I could not get that done. So we're going to start. Welcome everyone to an Arreva and MaestroSoft special educational webinar exclusively for you. This is entitled The Return of In-Room Auction Events, How Boys and Girls Clubs of Coachella Valley raised more than $1.2 million and much more on helping you make the return to in-room auctions. So I added that last part. We're going to go ahead and get started here. And I'm going to just let you know what we have in store today. We're going to be doing welcomes and introductions in just a moment. We want to hear from you. We'll talk about that. And we're going to just sort of call out the concerns you may have regarding the return to in-room and why you really shouldn't be having those concerns, because we're going to address all of them today. Boys and Girls Clubs of Coachella Valley success story is definitely on the docket for today. And we're going to be sharing with you keys for a stellar return to in-room for your own return to in-room auction events. We're going to share some essential software and services advice, and we're going to be having an Ask the Expert questions and answers session at the end, and we'll talk a little bit about the interactive nature of today's session. I'm going to go ahead and just give you give you an introduction. I'm going to let you know first off that Bridget Kerr, who is the Director of Special Events, Boys and Girls Clubs of Coachella Valley, is just a phenomenal leader. She's done a great job with her success story, and she's generously shared it. Unfortunately, kind of at the last minute here, by circumstances out of her control, she's not able to join. She did send her note, and she has generously shared her success story with lots of details that our team's been involved in, which we will cover today. We also hope to have Bridget on a subsequent session where we continue to talk about some of the successes, and we've added a few things that you won't want to miss today. So please stay with us, and she does wish you all every success on your own return to in-room auction events, and says stay tuned, this is going to be a great session. So thank you. And big kudos to Bridget. We'll be talking more about that. I'm going to also, before I move forward, introduce our esteemed panelists and really in-room auction and overall auction and event fundraising experts. Ken Kleve, who is co-president and chief operating officer for MaestroSoft, which is an Arreva company. Say hello, Ken.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. You'll have an awful lot of good takeaways from this session.
Terrific. And to the left or Ken's right on the screen, you'll see Jay Fiske, who is the co-president and chief auctioneer for MaestroSoft and Arreva company. And I'm going to let you give a few words here just to kind of say hello and let everyone know what's in store today, Jay, before we kick into a little bit more of an overview.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all. I'm glad that you have taken the time to join us today. I feel very confident you're going to come away at the end of the session feeling like it was well worth your time. So thanks for investing an hour with us, and we'll definitely make it worthwhile.
Terrific. So I'm going to go ahead and let you know that this is an interactive session. I've shared that with you previously, but today's session will be recorded. So you don't really have to spend much time taking notes, unless, of course, that's your thing, and you're welcome to. We are going to be sharing a little bit of information with you as well about with some polls here and having you involved in this. And so if you see some polls come up in just a moment, you will see them. I'm going to get those pulled up, Jay, and if you could just let people know what we're asking them first off in terms of your scheduling and planning for an in-room auction event. So give me just a moment to grab this. And actually, I'm going to ask Gabby on my team if you might just pull up the poll. That would be very helpful. You should be seeing a poll, and it's basically just telling you, have you scheduled or are you planning on scheduling an in-room fundraising auction event? So we have a couple of choices for you. People, yep, you're getting the hang of it here. So your auction event is within 90 days. Is it taking place before the end of the year? Choose one of those, or no, your auction event will happen in the first half of 2023 or the second half of 2023. And I just love this last one because that's our whole reason for being here, right? We're not currently planning an in-room auction event. Convince me. So there's the gauntlet has been thrown. And so we will certainly do that.
I hope we get some of those. I hope we get some of those.
Oh, we are. Yeah, we are. I'm going to go ahead and just ask everyone, please participate in these. It makes it a much more rich set of results if you could just do that, and it helps us to sort of indicate if you should want any follow-up on, how we can help you. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. So I'm going to just ask our team if they could just go ahead and put up the results, and we can take a look at this and let people know what's happening there. So we'll share these results in just a moment here. And Jay, let me ask you: is it if you have your event within 90 days, can we still help?
Absolutely, we could help if your event's in 30 days. There are definitely things that you can do at the last minute that can drive revenue. If your event's in the next 30 days or the next 60 days, reach out to me individually, and I'll give you some ways to boost your revenue, guaranteed.
Great. And I don't know if this got, I'm going to go ahead and end this poll right here. And then I'm going to, I think I can share it. I ended it, share the results. You can just so you have an idea of what our audience is like. Do you see it?
I do.
Okay. So it's a pretty good mix, really. And, and there's certainly some gauntlet throwers, right? So
8% are having an event coming up in the next 90 days. That's even though summer's coming around, they must have golf tournaments or maybe summertime galas. That's terrific. Yeah. We're gonna do it before the end of the year. Yeah, I would expect that. Fall is a pretty active time for auctions, and of course, there's 21% that are going to do it first half of next year, and about 2% say second half of next year. Yeah. The 23% that are not currently planning an event, it tells me two things. Number one is that they're here because they want to be convinced. Mm-hmm. And it also tells me there's probably some pushback they're getting as to why not to have one. And hopefully we'll be able to help them with that pushback.
Great. And so we've put up another poll because we're just trying to get you to flex those interactive muscles, and you guys are right on it. So we have put up another question, which is just kind of calling out, regardless of whether you're scheduled, planning, et cetera, it's a reasonable ask here. What concerns do you have, if any, regarding, returning to in-room auction events? And so that's really what the question is there. And if you could just respond as you are. And if you have other concerns, by the way, I want to remind you too, the other thing we want to have you do is throughout today's session, go into the questions box, go into the chat box, whichever one will find you and we'll get your, your question. I'm serving as moderator today as well. So I'll be looking for those and my team will be grabbing those and we'll be making sure that we address them directly or within common themes throughout today's session. So if you have something other than one of these concerns that you want to put out there, drop that in the chat box. Somebody just looking to try and improve events and looking at those, ways that they can do that. That's great. I saw someone just actually had their event held in April. So people are out of the gate on this already, and we're going to be talking more about that. But I'm just going to go ahead and end this poll on a 5 count here. So if you haven't answered yet and you would like to, please do. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here we go. I'm going to share this with you so you can see this, guys. Should be showing right now.
Yeah,
and we are
first poll question. The responses are pretty interesting, and I think we might be able to share with you some reasons why that may not actually be true about won't drawing a crowd and audiences. But I'd like some more feedback on that as we get into this.
In fact, what I've done here is I decided to take these and just put them they're on the slide, concerns you may have about return to in-room auction events, right? So you take a look at these and that sort of moves us into our next session, which is just taking these things. And if I see others, I'll tee them up to the guys and we'll talk about those as well. But if you guys, Jay and Ken, if you want to take it from here and kind of run through some of these things that they just responded to, that'd be great.
Yeah, the concern about not drawing a crowd or audience, interesting. That is a very reasonable concern. In fact, the Boys and Girls Club of Coachella Valley had that concern, but they decided to go ahead and launch anyway. They planned for 600 people. They had been traditionally in years past getting about 600 people coming to their event. They ended up with 475 people, so they were down a little bit, but it was a very enthusiastic crowd and did not seem to affect their fundraising capabilities. So there are people that are just going to be reluctant to be in a crowd. That's the way it is. But there are also people that are looking for an excuse to get out there. Planning other virtual type events, that's fine. I am starting to see a trend, especially talking with some of the other auctioneers that I know, that people are getting tired of virtual events. They want to get face to face with people. They want to have a party. So I think virtual events are going to probably start waning pretty quickly. If you've already planned a virtual event, perhaps you might think about morphing that into at least a hybrid event where you can do virtual component, but also have some folks in room. Having people in room definitely changes the energy. How do we successfully get back in room? Well, we're going to talk about that today.
Yep.
That's why you're here. Risk should things change again. Reasonable risk if all of a sudden we go back on lockdown again. And so our watchword to that would be to plan for hybrid, and then you could go either way. If it turns out that there's no change and you don't have to go, you don't have to have a lockdown again, you've already planned for both an in-room event and a virtual event. And if you need to go full virtual, you're there. If you can go full room, you're there. So I would plan hybrid, and then you could pivot either direction.
Well, it's great. Jay, there was a question. One of the concerns that came up, somebody just posed saying, our board is concerned about a spike in COVID cases in our particular region, especially since our core demographic skews older.
Yeah. Well, that's an evaluation you have to do on a local level. That's just, that's pure and simple local. What Coachella Valley did is they made it, number one, they made sure they conformed to the requirements of the hotel where they were having their event. They also made it a requirement that people have a positive COVID test or be willing to take a test to get into the event, certify that they that they did not have COVID and it's no different than getting on an airplane these days. You're asked if you've had COVID, and if you currently have it, if you had a recent test, and pretty much the same thing would go for putting people in a room.
Great. And I think that, there are, a number of questions around that. And in terms of the questioners, like, can we do this and can we be successful? There was it. Yeah. Well, I'm going even back to earlier, just how do we successfully get back in room on that piece? I know we'll be talking about it. There were some questions about, is there really a big distinction between which type is most successful? And I'm assuming they mean, between virtual and live.
Yeah, I think I think the proof is in what's happened over the last couple of years. Although all of us, both on the the development managers and the nonprofit party planners and so forth, and the auctioneers and the auction planners on my side of the fence, have pretty much agreed that the virtual event was a necessity. It kept people engaged. It was worth doing, but does not replace having in room events. It's not.
And we're going to talk about what the role of virtual is in this, not only in being able to, adjust and plan for one and be able to adjust as you need to, but just in general, what it can do to extend the opportunity and who can be involved. So I think it's not a yes or no kind of answer. What about the expense logistics of doing in room again? That was one of the things that had come up.
Well, the old saying, you can't save your way to prosperity. You need to boost your revenue. The way you make the money is bringing in the money, not by saving what you already have. So the in-room event is where you're going to be able to make the money. If you do a virtual event, it's hard to charge $200 a person to attend a virtual event. Bridget, in her notes to us, because she was unable to attend today, said that they boosted their ticket price from $125, which it had been for many years, to $200, and pretty much nobody complained about that. Well, it's almost impossible to charge people for a virtual event unless you're giving them something in return, like sending out a dinner box or something like that. Also, when you're in room, you get group energy. You can't get group energy in the virtual. And again, that's where you offset your expenses, by boosting your revenue on both your raise the paddle and the sale of your auction items. So yeah, it's more expensive to put together an in-room event. You got to have a venue, you got to have lighting, sound, and you got an auctioneer. You've got decorations, you have all those sorts of things, but those are offset by what you charge people to attend. And
I'll just interject real quick there, Jay, in that all the hundreds of clients I've talked to over the last couple of months, across north to south and east to west, almost every single one of them has paused since 2019, and they're coming back in room in 2022, and almost to an organization, every single one of them has raised their ticket prices, and they've not had pushback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people get it. So, here's some of these concerns here. Won't draw a crowd. You may not draw as many as you thought, or you may not draw as many as you've had before. But the ones you draw will be people that opted in because they want to help you. And a couple of great examples, Coachella is one. They normally draw 600. They drew 475, but made just as much money. And then just last weekend, I had an event for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Salt Lake. And they, quote, only had 300 people. They typically had 400 plus at their event. They only had 300 people, but they had a record evening. They made more money than ever. So really, it's not about how many people attend. It's about who attends. You have people that opt in because they're there to support you, and the ones that can't or won't or feel uncomfortable, that's totally fine. They can support you in other ways. But the ones that are there, they're there because that's where they want to be.
Yeah, and we had Boys and Girls Clubs of Wyoming chime into the chat box here and just share out with everyone that this was their most successful ever, and that's the theme. I mean, I don't want to steal the kind of the prize here. We're going to be talking about that, but that's definitely a big piece. People are very, very grateful to be out and about and humaning again, and more generous than ever, particularly if you're there. But we're going to talk more about that. We want to just sort of call that out there. These are concerns are important to call out and understand where they're at, because then they're kind of an action signal for you to think about. One, just sort of validating whether they're actual, and if they are things that you need to think about, what you could do to be prepared, and then oftentimes to dispel some notions you may have about that. So I think that's a good review for us. And what we're going to do here, sort of in keeping with our theme of inspiring you and taking you to the stars, we're going to share the Boys and Girls Clubs of Coachella Valley success story. And I'm going to let Jay and Ken kind of lead that from their notes. But before they do,
Dave, I want to interrupt you because I just want to make one quick point on that fear of failure. By definition, if you don't do something, then you've already failed. So the point is that if there's a reluctance to have an event because you feel it won't come off well, the act of not doing the event basically has already established that you failed. So you got to do something. You have constituents out there that are depending on you, and you have the people that you serve that are depending on you. So,
Yeah.
so fear of failure really should be off.
Well, there's a cost of inaction for sure. And Ken, this is kind of your cue for the Yoda quote, if you would.
Yeah, there, do or do not. There is no try.
Perfect. All right. So I think, as we move forward, I'm just going to do a little bit of a quick tee up here to Boys and Girls Clubs of Coachella Valley. We work with a lot of Boys and Girls Clubs, all right, particularly on some of the things we've done with MaestroSoft and the success stories. We work with just about every national organization, lots of other organizations as well, but they're just near and dear to us here. This is a great, very recent success story. And Bridget is just an awesome leader who was wanted to share her story with us. So, Boys and Girls Clubs of Coachella Valley has a mission to save and enhance the lives of the young people of their community, especially those with economic or social needs, by offering a safe haven and meaningful youth development services provided by a caring and qualified staff. And again, Bridget is the director of special events. This was her baby. She really led this and worked with our team, and Jay and Ken were involved. And I'm just going to let them go ahead and tee this up and kind of walk through an overview of this. And we also have a couple of bonus successes that Jay kind of alluded to that we're going to share with you as well before we get into some tips and takeaways.
Well, this particular client is one that I have a 20-year relationship with. And so they really serve as a great example of putting in a plan and replicating that plan year after year after year, doing what I call continuous improvement, measuring, analyzing, where do we come from, doing a debrief afterwards, what went well, what didn't go well, what can we improve. That's how you build any business. When I started with the Boys and Girls Club way back 20 years ago, I think their first event raised $65,000. But over the years, it's continued to grow. And a couple things that have really helped it continuing to grow is, number one, establishing the weekend that it's going to be on and keeping it on the same weekend every year. And Bridget passed that along as well from her notes, that was very important, because people can plan not only in the current year, they can plan the following year, the year after that. They know it's going to always be on that second weekend, the second Saturday of March, year after year after year. So they plan accordingly. And that helps offset people ending up with calendar issues. The second thing that they do really well is that they nurture their potential donors and their audience year round. They don't wait until it's right before the event and invite them. They send out thank you letters. They send out invitations to other events. They're keeping a constant dialogue going with all the people that support them. They have a golf tournament. They have a luncheon. These same people are always being thanked for supporting them. They also do a great job of getting pre-event money. Their CEO spent the last 6 months prior to their event literally going out to their donor base and getting matching money, so that they would have pre-event matching money. They would have pre-event sponsorship money. And the reason for that was, once we got in room, we wanted to be able to say that, that we were already halfway to our goal. I mean, their goal was $1 million. They were already $500,000 plus in the bank with the pre-event money. So they didn't need to rely on the auction and the raise the paddle to get all the way there. And then finally, you'll notice on here, it's got Ruben Studdard as the entertainment. Ruben is a product of Boys and Girls Clubs in the southeast part of the United States. And so they wanted him there not only for the entertainment, but because of his connection to the Boys and Girls Clubs. And he was able to talk to that before his performance. And he was also able to talk to that before our Raise the Paddle, we call our Stand Up for Kids. It's a success story that's built on success. It's not a flash in the pan. It wasn't a one-time deal. It takes years to get to this point. So the key to it is that your auction planning, your event planning should not start and stop. It should start and continue. The day after your event, you're already planning the following year's event. You already have your plan in place, and now you're looking for ways to improve.
Yeah. Hey, Jay, I'm gonna, and so again, this is the Grandest Auction. A couple of things I just interject on here. I love seeing the face. You can see on the faces the palpable energy and enthusiasm about being out and about And, there's some great stuff you might want to call out showing the registration. But we did have a question that came up a couple of times, and it just came up again. How much did the Boys and Girls Club charge to attend their Grandest Auction? And I happen to know that they increased their price from previous. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for the last several years, prior to the 2-year hiatus they had to take, they were charging $125. They came back, that was per person. They came back after 2 years off, and they boosted the price to $200 a person, and they had no pushback on that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Bridget, go ahead, Ken.
Thank you. So, and granted, everyone is in a different geographic location, right? And we all need to understand our markets and where we live and the constituent base that we have that they're going to be supporting our event. So maybe a $75 increase in your area is going to be too much, but an increase from where you were in, the last time you had an in-room event, I commented earlier that there has been no pushback. Maybe a smaller increase, but there must be an increase for you to help. With inflation, you have to cover your costs. But to Jay's point, this group, they went from 125 to 200, and they had no pushback.
Yeah.
But to touch back on what Jay said, they also had fewer people. But the fewer people in the room, in which Jay's going to touch on in the near future, I'm sure, is that there are fewer people in the room, and they realized there weren't 600 people in the room, and they became more generous.
Yeah.
Ironically, they actually had one donor, believe it or not. They had one donor who asked for an audience with Bridget prior to the event, and she came in and sat down and said, I go to a lot of these galas, and now that we're coming back, I've been going to a lot this spring. Yours is coming up. And I've noticed that we're getting fewer people coming to the galas, but the bidding and the donations and the raise the paddle, the bidding activity is much stronger. And I think it's because we as donors realize that you've struggled for the last couple of years, and we feel like we need to help you make up for lost time. We need to help you make up for lost ground. And that came from a donor that wanted to sort of reassure Bridget that, you guys can do this. We may be fewer of us in numbers, but we're going to help you because we know that we've got to make up. And I'll tell you this, I stay in touch with literally hundreds of auctioneers nationwide in a users group. And to every one of those auctioneers, they've been having record events. I mean, I've had no auctioneer come on the users group that I'm involved in and say, we're struggling. My clients are not making it. They're all coming back and reporting record events. So I think there is a pent up demand. And I think that that pent up demand needs an outlet, and that outlet are the events. You'll notice here on this picture, the lower left-hand corner, this is the check-in line.
Yeah.
I just want to talk to that a little bit. I don't like the term line because line means waiting. You wait in queue, you wait in line. So our philosophy and the philosophy we use at the Coachella Valley event is to have so many registration stations that no matter when you showed up, you were going to go directly to somebody who was going to be able to help you. There was no line. And the way I put it is, I would much rather have too many volunteers with nothing to do than to have guests standing around with no one to help them. So whatever you plan on your event, the first impression your guests are going to get when they walk in the door is there a line? That's the very first thing they're going to see. And if they walk in and they're immediately be able to be helped, they're already in a good mood. They're already going to have a great attitude. They're going to move into your gala, get their drink, and start spending money. So if you think you need 5, do 10. If you think you need 7, do 12. But have more check-in stations than you possibly think you might need.
Jay, I'm gonna take a little bit of a turn here in terms of just moderating this with some things, and I want to mess the flow here. But Bridget was generous enough to share a number of themes and kind of some notes. So one of them I just want to kind of hit that you covered because this is a team effort, right? I mean, great leaders and then everyone who's involved there. So one of the things she'd shared, and I'll just get this out there, and then she asked for you to react to that. But on pre-fundraising and event fundraising, she says our president and CEO. Quentin Eggson gets all the credit for the pre-fundraising. So I want to make sure we get that out on our national audience right now. Thank you for that. And 6 months leading up to the auction, he hits the ground running, raising matching funds for the auction. His proven donors like to know their money could be doubled, whether it's 5K or 100K, secure that matching fund and then chip away at it, getting it matched before the auction, which is a big part of the strategy. And recognition can be given at the auction during Raise the Paddle and or in the program. It's also proven donors like to donate to successful organizations. So if you start your Raise the Paddle with a little in the bank, they may be more willing to support. And I'm just going to read this note too. Jay can speak more on that.
Yeah, and I'm going to. Thank you. Thank you for the setup, Bridget. Boys and Girls Club Coachella has had the luxury of a foundation in the Coachella Valley that every year provides matching money for the Raise the Paddle. And when you tell an audience that because of the foundation, I'm not sure I'm allowed to mention their name, so I probably won't. But when you can say to the audience, but thanks to the generosity of this foundation, you know, every time you raise your paddle for Stand Up for Kids at $1,000, it's worth $2,000. At $2,500, it's worth $5,000. That matching money is amazing. And so this year they increased that match by $100,000. It's usually in the $150,000, I believe it's $150,000 match. This year was $250,000. And that really helped us get all of that match. It allowed us to get the money out of the room. Now that's pre-event matching money. And I'd strongly encourage people that if you're going to have a gala, no matter how big the gala is, whether your budget is, you know, you're planning on making $25,000 or $100,000 or $250,000 or $1 million, get into that event with some foundation, some company, some individual that's willing to do a one-to-one match. And it does help you pull money out of the room. Probably not appropriate at this point, but sometime during this webinar, I'm going to talk about a match that occurred in the middle of the event and how effective that was. But pre-event matching money is it's golden. You get that, it's going to really help you boost your revenue at the event. So here's everybody having a good time. Of course, you know, the guy over there on the left, that's the auctioneer, and the guy behind him is the MC. We like to work as a team. That's Brian Harnick, and I've been working with him for close to 20 years as my MC. He's a board member of the club down there. A couple things on these other pictures that are important to note. They may seem subtle, but they're important. Notice that the size of the bid cards. This is an issue. A lot of people, when they run their events, make the numbers way too small. They try and put them on the back of the program book, or they make them on little cards or whatever. The auctioneer needs to be able to see those numbers and be able to read them from the stage all the way to the back of the room. You'll see on the lower left-hand picture there, the numbers even all the way to the back of the room are very visible from the stage. Very, very important. That doesn't always happen. That's a luxury. You want to make sure you do that. The other thing I was going to show you is, I think it might be on the previous slide, but they had 4 video screens. And the reason they had 4 video screens, no, it must be on an upcoming slide. I think go forward, we'll figure it out. Oh, there it is. It's on the lower left.
Right.
So they got those screens are in the back of the room. The other screen, upper right, where it says Ruben, those screens are in the front of the room. Why is that? Because people are sitting at a round table. And so by definition, when you're sitting at a round table, half the room is facing away from the stage and half the room is facing towards the stage. And you don't want people to have to twist around in their chair to see what's going on the stage. So it's a little extra money to put screens in the back of the room, but it's a courtesy. It's in a large crowd, especially, it's a courtesy to the people that are facing away from the stage to be able to see what's going on by having a camera, a video camera focused on the stage. And so the people that are turned away, they can eat their meal, they can look up for their meal, see what's going on, and not be uncomfortable. It's a small thing, but it's a courtesy you give to your guests. So
Jay, another thing I'd like you to speak to real quick is the logistics in specific, like sound, lighting.
Yeah, absolutely. Sound, lighting, very critically important. You know, you must have good sound. Don't skimp on sound. Boy, I've been to so many events where the client would say, well, you know, we have a DJ and we're going to be doing dancing afterwards. Well, the problem with the DJ sound is that the sound is directed at the dance stage, at the dance floor. Well, the people aren't sitting on the dance floor, they're sitting around the dance floor. And so DJ sound is just awful for an auction. You need to bring in an auction quality sound system. We can certainly give you some tips on that. It has to be that. And lighting is the other thing. Candlelight dinners are wonderful for dinners. Candlelight auctions are terrible. So you want to make sure that you work with your banquet facility to bring the house lights up. It doesn't have to be bright. We're not doing surgery here. They don't have to be spotlights.
Mhm.
You want the lights in the room enough to where the auctioneer from the stage can view the very last bit number in the back corner of the room. If the lighting is up enough, that's great. But the one thing I wanted to mention real quick is notice the centerpieces. Centerpieces can absolutely kill your auction. They have great centerpieces. They were wonderful roses. By the way, we sold those and people went home with those. We made a lot of money on the centerpieces, which you can do. I love to say decorate with revenue items if you can. So they did. But notice that they're low. They're low centerpieces so the people around the table can look and talk to each other, make it social. And they can also see the stage. I can't tell you how many times I walk into a room and I gasp because they've got giant ferns or something in the middle of the table for centerpieces, and you can talk to the person next to you, but you can't talk to the person across the table from you.
Yeah.
And these are subtle things, but they all enhance the pleasure, if you will, for your guests at an event. Okay.
Well, Jay, I think one of the things that's interesting too, we talked about the enthusiasm and the attendance and the fact that those who are there are much more engaged. And one of the things that Bridget shared is that, even though their attendance was less, the people were giving more, but they also had a number of people on more than one occasion mention to them that it felt like there were more just because of the energy. Yeah. And there is a note here as well. And I know you may have touched on it or at least alluded to that, but an important part of the success here too, and it doesn't mean that you can't have great success regardless, but Coachella, Boys and Girls Clubs of Coachella Valley never stopped fundraising, as I understand it, right? I mean, they did it differently, but they didn't stop.
No, that's exactly right. They do it year round. The whole point of fundraising year round is you give everybody a chance to opt in when they're ready. You just because you're ready to have your event second Saturday in March doesn't mean your donors are ready to give you money the second Saturday in March. So there are those that will, but there are also people that will give you money in September because that happens to be when it's available to them, where it's appropriate. Yeah. They're able to attend, that kind of thing. So fundraising is a year-round effort. Of course, the development directors on this call already know that. They do it anyway. I'm preaching to the choir in that case. But you just have to give people multiple reasons to support you, and then it's not a surprise when you do well, because because you haven't treated them like, okay, now it's important to me, so now I'm ready for you. You've got to do it when it's important to the donor.
So we have we kind of have a side webinar going on as well, which is always the case. The community is so involved. People are chiming in and helping. So I'm going to share some of this. Yeah. And you see that, but there also are some questions. One of the things that came up as you were talking about the logistics, and Ken had brought that up. Someone had shared auction spotters in a larger room are extremely helpful too. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so let's, Coachella is a good example of that. Now, having a spotter in the room needs to be someone that tells you who's trying to bid, not someone who just did. And so what do I mean by that? If you have volunteers that are around the room and someone raises their card and then the spotter kind of points to them, that's the auctioneer's already seen that in most cases. So what Coachella Valley does, and I love it, is they set up a speaker on the stage for me as the auctioneer, one on the left side of the stage and one on the right side of the stage. We have 4 professional spotters, and those 4 professional spotters each have a microphone. And the microphones are piped into only the speaker on the stage. The audience doesn't hear what the spotters are saying. We call it a monitor speaker, okay?
Yep.
And each of the 4 spotters have their own word. J, yes, here, bid. And I can tell whether that spotter is in the back left-hand side of the room, back right-hand side of the room, front left, front right. And based on whether I say J, bid, here, I can turn towards that direction when the card is up. So it allows me to increment the bids very quickly because I don't have to physically see the card. This is real important. I can literally take the bids off the voice and I can get the bids going. And this is why we always at their event always get more than well over 100% of value for the auction items. Having that energy is amazing. When we can make this very, very quickly. So if the spotters are waiting for me to see the card, then it's already too late. Having good spotters, and I would wire them for sound. I would absolutely spend a little extra money in a big room anyway. If you're in a room with 200-300 people, not necessary. But if you're in a room with 500-600 people, having those spotters have a microphone, having a monitor speaker on stage, and letting that auctioneer take the increments off of what the spotter sees rather than what the auctioneer sees will definitely make you more money. It's worth the price.
Yeah, I'm going to share a couple of things here as well. And I don't know that I know the answer to this, but there was a question about, did the ticket price for the Coachella event cover all of their event costs? And I'll just add, is it necessary that it does, or is it typical?
It is necessary that you go in to the event not having to sell anything or ask for a donation to cover your costs.
Good.
If your meal cost by the hotel is $100, you got to charge $125 or $150. Don't think you're going to make it up on selling auction items. And by the way, it also sends the right message to the audience. The message of the audience can't be that they're getting a deal by, wow, I get to go have this great, we got this great, event I get to go to. I get to drink wine. It's wonderful. And it's only costing $75. That gives you what I call a room full of eaters, not a room full of bidders.
Yeah.
You need to let the people that are coming understand it's a fundraiser. If they think they're going to get $100 meal, you need to charge $150 for it, so that the people that opt in realize they're going to a fundraiser. Very important. And yes, it should cover your costs.
Great. When we get to the end, we'll kind of come back and circle around some things, but I invite everyone who's not in the chat to keep joining in and looking at what's there. There's lots of great questions being answered directly from our audience about ways that you can, say things like partner with us instead of donate to people that you're going to organizations, and things about very specific places where you can get these resources. So we'll be sure to cover those. I do want to just throw this out to you, Jay and Ken, though. So, I think you have a very big success story here. Boys and Girls Clubs obviously are a heartstring type of, mission. And it's a great organization, very well known nationally as well. Does it matter, in terms of, if you don't think that you're going to get the donations at the size, or you don't think that you're going to have some of the elements the same, how would you sort of speak to that? We have a pretty broad audience here today.
Well, everybody's needs are different. Everybody's budgets are different. It is not a one size fits all. The tools that Coachella Valley used are 100% appropriate for an event like theirs. It's $1 million event, 500 people, 475, 500 people in a room. A legacy type event, honoree, totally appropriate. There may be someone watching this webinar who's needs $50,000, and they're going to do it at a local country club, and they're going to put 150 or 200 people in the room. Well, those are necessarily different tools, but the basics are there. The basic is charge more than what it's going to cost you, because you want to make sure people opt in to a fundraiser, not opt into a meal.
Yeah.
And the other basics are good lighting, good sound, good items, match items to people. I know one of the questions that popped in, I just saw popped into the chat, was how many items, would you suggest auctioning? And I will answer that very quickly. Whatever number of items you can sell while people are eating dinner, because you should be selling while people eat, not afterwards. An after dinner auction is deadly. You want to do a during dinner auction, because 10% of the people that are there are going to care about any given item. The other 90% of the people are going to be spectators. Those spectators should not be turned into some people just watching other people spend money. You should give them something to do, and what the something to do is eat the dinner. So that holds whether it's a $25,000 event or $50,000 event or $1 million event. Auction while people are eating. So now take a look at how long it's going to take to serve the meal. How many, are you doing a salad? Are you doing a main course? Are you doing a dessert? How long it's going to take to serve and consume all of that? Whatever amount of time that is, divide it by 3 minutes. And that's how many items you're going to sell, because it's 3 minutes an item. It's all a formula. And so in Coachella Valley's case, they spread out the service to accommodate about 23 items live.
Mm-hmm.
In other cases, I've had events where they do 40 items and they serve 2 desserts. Other events where they only do 10 items, and you know what, we do the whole event, we do the whole auction during dessert. But the point is, give people something to eat while people are bidding, and that holds for any size event.
So we have a question that, Bridget had shared would likely be asked, and it actually was asked. It was just, what did the board say when you wanted to move this direction? It tends to, vary there as well. And she shared some very specific information on that. Could you respond to that, Jay or Ken?
Yeah, go ahead, Ken, if you have it. Otherwise,
Okay.
I will.
Sure. Yeah, I did. I'll read verbatim what she shared with us. She said, when we decided to discuss bringing back our in-person auction with our board, there was excitement and hesitation. Both the hesitation was for good reason, and those board members just wanted our organization to be responsible and cautious.
Absolutely.
We discussed numbers and protocol and decided based on the hotel's capacity and protocol, we were fine inviting our normal numbers, which is a little over 600, and requiring proof of vaccination or a negative test. I would say once our event arrived that most were excited, and with the current state, they still believed it was a good idea, and 98%, said they were happy to do it. And that's in regards to sharing proof of vaccine or having a proof of negative test. They were excited to be back together.
So a happy ending from that respect. And we're going to be probably using this as a bit of a backdrop. We also want to move on to some other things here, but just kind of sharing with you the results and outcomes here in terms of just 3 key things that were really big, involving the results and the outcomes. If you wanted to just address those, and then we'll move forward.
Well, yeah, obviously, you don't raise over $1 million at the event. You raise $1 million because of an event, and so you use the event as the vessel, if you will, to reach out for sponsorships, to reach out for advertisers, to reach out for pre-event matching money, and that sort of thing. And ultimately, that's then in room. What you do is you augment the pre-event money with the live auction, the silent auction, the stand up for kids, raise the paddle, emotional appeal, whatever you call it, that sort of thing. I do want to make a quick comment. I am seeing so many great questions come through this chat that I know for sure we'll not get through all those questions. So, David, I'm hoping someone on your side is going to print out
capturing those.
Yeah, we capture those and respond back to them as part of our post-event piece. So
I would like to post-event. I would like to offer that post-event. I'm looking at these questions that are wonderful questions. I will take it upon myself to answer all those questions in the chat. At some point, we can send that back.
No, absolutely. We reach on that. And at that point too, I just let you know, we will put this up a couple of times. Part of our gift to all of you is the opportunity for a free consultation. And if you want a demo on anything we shared, we could talk through that as well, but it's no obligation. So I'll leave that up for a little while as we keep moving forward. I'll just tie this up in terms of the results and outcomes and let you know that, one of the things that was a big outcome, and it also sort of they're intertwined, it also led to the great financial outcome, is the fact that it was a highly engaged, generous crowd. They were grateful to be attending a smoothly run, fun, and meaningful live event. And, what are some of the elements that make it a smoothly run event? We're going to be talking about that through some other success stories and coming back to that. But what happens is, and I heard from Amanda as well after the Boys and Girls Clubs of Salt Lake, of Greater Salt Lake event that they just had, and we'll be doing another session on that coming up. She shared that it was interesting because it kind of grew as you saw people seeing what a great time they were having, how fun it was, and how smooth everything was. People just started to open up even more, and the giving just became, really a contagious thing. So that was great.
It almost became surreal on how the later in the event, the more generous they got. I don't know if it'd be appropriate for me to mention what we had in terms of an in-room match. But we talked with Coachella Valley does a good job of getting pre-event matching money so that when we do our paddle race, our stand up for kids, we're able to draw on that pre-event matching money. We had a situation in Salt Lake just last Saturday night where we were at $91,000 in the raise the paddle, but they call it bid for kids. We were at 91,000. The goal was about 75,000. So we were already well over goal. And I was at the point as the auctioneer, I was already at the $100 level. When I started at $5,000 and I'd already worked my way down through all the other levels, 2,500, 1,000 and so forth. And I'm at the $100 level. And someone called me, and I remember we're at 91,000. I had a guest call me to his table and said, I'll give you a $50,000 match if you can get another $50,000 out of the room. And, that's what they call both an opportunity and a bomb.
Yeah.
Because, you can imagine how exciting it would be to get that $50,000 match, but also he didn't lay that on me until pretty much everybody had already given. And so it had there, had a trap. It was a trap. And so I mentioned to the audience, and of course they all cheered for the 50,000 match, and then they all groaned when he said it's all or nothing. He wasn't going to match any part of it. It had to be a whole 50,000 out of the room. So I made a deal, with the audience. I said, I'll make you a deal right now. We want to get his 50,000. I'm not going to charge you anything for your pledges right now unless we get to 50,000. So please put your cards up again. You've been generous already. I'd like you to be generous one more time. Please put your cards up. We're going to do it one more time. From this point forward, though, it's only a pledge if we get to 50,000. If not, it's not going to cost you anything. And we were able to get the additional $50,000 out of the room, plus the 50,000 match, for a total of $191,000. That's one of those spontaneous things that you don't have happen a lot, but it does show you the power of the match, and that's why I'm bringing it up. Matching money is magic. It just absolutely is magic, and that room would not have come up with another 50,000. Regardless of what I said, unless we had that 50,000 from that gentleman that they all wanted to make sure I had to pay.
Yeah.
So to the point of earlier when we said do or do not, there is no try, that $50,000 match would not have happened unless they were in room.
Not a chance.
100% guarantee.
And I think that anyone who's I wouldn't say a non-believer, but who has any doubt, really has, from what we've heard pretty overwhelmingly, is really blown away by what actually happens when they do a smoothly run event, and they are open to lots of things and trying them. So, Amanda shared very much that, and by the way, you see too, I didn't get to really intro this. These are just these are like hot off the presses kinds of things that have happened here. And there's lots of many more return to in-room successes that we can share and we can talk to you about. Lots of examples during the consultation that we're offering you. But the first one is Amanda, and you can see her pointing to a number there. Everyone's a little bit different. This is another Boys and Girls Clubs. This is the money that they raised, which was really amazing. And this is just for the Raise the Paddle alone.
It was
Stand Up for Kids, I think.
Kids. The other one is Camilla's House. They just completed their event in April 30th, I think it was. And they raised over $1 million. They do 2 events a year, by the way. They do one in April, they do one in December. The one in April is at a golf course, and it's a smaller event. They still raised over $1 million. So that was their first in-room event in 2 years. So clearly, everyone's back in room. And as I mentioned before, the auctioneers I'm talking to around the country, they're all bragging about record events. No one's having bad events. Please, if you're even on the fence, just go for it. You won't be disappointed. You just got to get back at it.
And we're with you for good. And so the challenge of convince me is one we take to heart. We really do want to help you because it's the right thing to look at in whatever way you do that. So we have these successes. I just want to give you a little bit of a plug here as well, because Amanda and Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Salt Lake are having great success, not just with this auction event and the return, but also their year-round fundraising through some things that they're doing in particular. So we're going to be doing an entire session that we'll be promoting out to the market coming up very soon here in the coming weeks. And we'll probably have Bridget join us on that if it's possible again. But we're happy to answer any other questions you have on these particular successes. And again, you'll be hearing more about Camilla's House and others. But, Jay, I just want to throw this out there. Is there these are obviously just a handful of examples, but is there any reason any particular type of organization wouldn't be wanting to look at trying to make that return any more than any others, or couldn't have the success?
Well, so far the auctions I've been doing in room this year have been across the board.
Yeah.
Children's organizations.
And on the MaestroSoft side,
clubs.
from the software and services, Jay, we've seen there has not been one, and this is a great place. For whoever asked that question, that's a really good question, because I'm the one that has the opportunity to talk with clients all across the country. There has not been one vertical in particular that has opted out regardless of who they're raising money
Yeah.
for.
There is
The
one
vast
change.
majority are going back in the room.
There is one change that we've noticed, and that is we're seeing a trend, and it's actually a good trend, that because so many organizations had to go virtual out of necessity, they learned mobile bidding and they learned online bidding because that was their only choice. And now that they're coming back in room, they're integrating the mobile bidding
Yeah.
process with the in-room. They're doing their silent auctions starting in advance. They're opening up the bidding 2, 3 days, 4 days in advance. And that way they don't have to have the big silent auction room, with 100 items all on display, bid sheets and all that kind of thing. They're now, what they're doing is they're opening up to all of their supporters, not just the people coming to the event. And then they're rolling into their event the night of with either no silent auction or a very small silent auction, having done their big silent auction in advance. So that's a change. It's a positive change, and I think that's gonna probably be carried forward going on.
Yeah. Well, and this is a nice segue, of course, to the keys to a stellar return to in-room auction events. The audience is so far ahead of us on throwing out the how important it's been to be discovering mobile bidding. So I think this is going to resonate. But let's talk through some of the things that you think are key. In terms of your own lightsaber, as it were.
Yeah, well, we'll do these really quickly. Some of these we already touched on.
Yeah.
But just assume you never left. Yeah, you lost 2 years, but that doesn't mean you start from scratch. It means you start from where you left off. And just whatever you've been doing, whatever you were doing in 2019, pick it up in 2020, 22, and just do it. And don't try and ease your way back. Hit the ground running. In other words, don't apologize for where you are. Just don't test the waters. Toe in the water. We were as kids. The pool is cold. We'll put our toe in the water. You got to come off that diving board and just jump in, because that's what your audience expects. They're looking for that full-on gala, not the test the waters thing. And there is pent-up demand. You heard it from the donor that when it talked to Bridget, gee, we realize that you probably need us, so we're there to help you, and we want to give. And people are coming, smaller audiences, but they're spending just as much and more. So play to that pent up demand. Give them a reason to give you the money. As I said, don't apologize. Your supporters understand. They were in the same pandemic you were. They weren't on the moon. They were here, right? They get it, but they're just waiting for you to say we're back to normal. Business is usual, right? And this goes without saying. Thank them as often as you can. You can't really say thank you too early, too often. If you are a children's oriented organization, whether it's a school or whether it's a Boys and Girls Club, or Big Brothers Big Sisters, or somebody deals with children's diseases, whatever organization you might have the thank you cards written by the kids you serve.
Or the kids you serve, or the board,
or the board.
the people that benefit the most from
The
the
impacted,
organization. Point.
Yeah, just integrate in as much as you can. The people that are supported, have them say the thank yous whenever you can. Technology is really important. Nowadays people have become accustomed to using their phone over the last 2 years, because that was the only way they could not only just support their causes, but the only way they could communicate with each other. You think about that. We used to have in-room meetings, right? Everybody's gone Zoom. We're on Zoom right now. They've been using their cell phone more than ever. So, they're comfortable using that cell phone. So put that cell phone to use. I would strongly encourage you to move away from paper bid sheets. If you're doing a silent auction by paper bid sheets, there's no reason to do that anymore. When you use paper bid sheets, you're doing what I call a item-centric auction, meaning the bidders have to be where the item is to place a bid. Move towards mobile bidding, because that becomes guest-centric bidding. It means the bidding is wherever the guest is, and that will definitely boost your revenue. Technology is definitely going to help you there. And then open the event prior for supporters. I mentioned that a few minutes ago. Let your people that can't come to your event because of geography issues, or because they're just uncomfortable being in the room. then give them a chance to support you as well by opening up with an online auction or mobile-based auction. And this
And Jay, if I could just interject on those 2 points regarding the technology, I haven't seen it yet, but it's bound to happen. Someone will say, well, our audience, our supporters are different. They're older. They're not comfortable with technology. And I just will put this out there because we've shared this before. Certainly there's always differences and distinctions. You'll have to kind of know your audience, but don't underestimate their comfort with technology, because one of the things that really over the past couple of years that has happened is that if someone wasn't comfortable using a cell phone, they became very comfortable. They had it with them. It was their life, their lifeline, their connection. If they were older, which is oftentimes we'll cite, like the older audience isn't as comfortable. If they wanted to see their grandkids and connect with them, they had to get used to it. So things have changed a lot.
That was it. That's exactly right. I get this all the time. People say, well, we don't want to do mobile bidding because we have an older crowd. And I go, well, ask your older crowd sometime how they communicate with their kids and their grandkids. It's not, they don't pick up the telephone because they don't have telephones anymore. They have cell phones, right?
Yeah.
So they text back and forth. I am back and forth. So anyway, and this one's important. Announce next year's event date during this year's event, because it shows continuity. It shows that this is not a one shot. We do this every year on the second Saturday in March. We're always the first weekend in April, whatever it might be. That shows your audience that this is something they can depend on year after year. Real important point. By the way,
Yeah.
I'm watching this chat going on the right side of my screen here.
Yeah.
Love it about this is that we're getting tips. People are asking questions and other people are answering in the chat. I'm loving it.
So I said it's its own session going there. That's what, and I realize I'm on camera, so you see me chuckle as I see them. And I've got to share the one, Jill Sears had shared, wealthy, educated, older adults are especially tech savvy. So another reason to think about that. I'm going to go ahead and move us to the next section here and let you keep us moving just to moderate. We're going to run a little bit over. We know that no one is left yet. We have people staying with us, so please be here. We're going to have questions and interaction. We won't run too much over, but we know that this is valuable to you. So
it's Q&A. Let's
so I'm just going to let you know, first off, let's tackle some of these. So we had this piece, and if you guys can help me here too, if you see anything, should silent auction items be displayed in the room, or if using mobile bidding, is that not necessary?
It really depends on whether you're opening your bidding to people that are not going to be at your gala. If you are opening the bidding 2 or 3 days ahead of time, then you'll have already had bids on those items, and those would have come from people that are not attending your gala, or maybe they're attending but they're pre-bidding. In that case, you probably don't need to necessarily show your items the night of the event. If your bidding is only going to be the people that are attending your gala, then you'll still want to display them just like you always have before, because that becomes part of your cocktail party. They're getting a drink, they've got their phone in their hand, they're looking at their items, they're wandering around, they're socializing, and those items are really become the centerpiece of the cocktail party. So I would go ahead and do that.
Yeah. I'm going to grab a question here on auctions as well. So do you suggest an in-person live auction, but online silent auction, or should everything be in person?
Well, again, you can do both. I strongly encourage you to have a live auction regardless. If you do a silent auction in advance by technology, by either web or mobile, you can have just your gala and live auction. That is totally fine. You can integrate your silent auction in with your gala, but if you're planning on having a quote silent auction only, then you're leaving money on the table. You've got to do a live auction for 2 reasons. One, it's part of the entertainment if it's done properly. And the second reason is it sets up your raise the paddle. It's hard for people to get comfortable making a straight cash contribution if you haven't asked them to be part of the energy leading up to it. And selling items in live fashion sets up, it becomes a life support system, if you will, for the paddle raise. And so even if it's only 3 or 4 or 5 items live, any number of live items leading up to a raise the paddle helps that raise the paddle raise more money.
Yeah. So
I'd like to ask you a question. Hold on, David. I'm sorry. It's going to be a leading question, but it's something that I've seen recently over the last couple of months. So for clients that are deciding to have a silent auction as well as a live, but they may have too many live items for the group, what we've seen is clients have closed the silent auction. If they're using mobile bidding or an online auction, they've closed a certain set of those silent auction items before the event, and they've pulled some of the maybe higher level silent items. They weren't great enough for the live, but they were better than what they should be getting, you know, in terms of value or yield in the silent. They've closed those silent auction items before the event. And can you chat real briefly on a super silent?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for the sub. Exactly right. Get rid of most of the items, but keep the tweeners. You know, darn it. If I needed a few more items, these would be the items I put in the live. But they're too good for the silent. We call that a super silent, or we call that an almost live. And so if we do it as an almost live, we allow bidding on that pre-bidding, but then we take the final bids during the live, and that can be during the cocktail hour. We'll have those items staged in the cocktail area, and the bidding will have been done, you know, in advance. The auctioneer advances the bids from where the last bid was, but it's only 1 or 2 or 3 bid steps from that point on. So you don't have to start at $0 on that. So that's the super silent. Works great as an almost live, or gee, I wish our live had a few more items. These are the ones it would be.
Perfect. So that's round one, Q&A. We're actually going to answer some of the Q&As.
I want to answer some more.
We're going to. Well, I'm glad you said that. We're going to have a second round right after this piece, which we're going to talk and answer some more questions within about essential software and services for the return of not just the return of to in-room auction events, but also year-round fundraising. So we're going to run through these, but you know, I do want to make sure, because some folks were talking about mobile bidding, just giving some distinctions on our text to bid solution. But I'm going to turn it to Jay to talk a little bit about some of the things you know, that we have had in place for lots of different organizations, helping them be successful. Jay, and Ken.
Yeah, well, first of all, for those of you that have known MaestroSoft for years, and I know there's several people on this that do, we became part of the Arreva family a couple of years ago. We're now an Arreva company, and when we became part of Arreva, our software immediately became integrated with Arreva's ExceedFurther platform. So we have our part. We're going to show you a little bit about Arreva as well, but the parts that we brought to the family, if you will, is running virtual and in-room auctions, auctioneering services, which we've never had before. We now have auctioneering services built in, text to donate, we call it text to fund, being able to take straight cash contributions on cell phone, text to bid, which is our mobile bidding platform. We do webinars, as you're on one right now. We do educational, like do that. Payment processing built in. You know, we can get you auction items. We have a little bit of everything now to help support your event. So MaestroSoft is the event-centric part of Arreva, if you will. Anything to do with events, golf tournaments, you know, testimonial luncheons, dinners, whatever. That's all the MaestroSoft side of the house. And then David will show you the Arreva side of the house, which is really the donor-centric part of Arreva.
Yeah, and so as we look at this, I did want you to just sort of speak to, you know, specifically on.
Everything's mobile optimized. Everything we do is mobile optimized, whether it's web or whether it's straight cash contributions or, you know, virtual raise the paddle. Of course, we have our flagship product, our MaestroAuction software, of course, online capability to register guests online, to preview catalogs online, to sell tables online, all that sort of stuff is with the website. Text to bid, we mentioned before, this works.
Well, I'm just going to pause here though, Jay, because there was, I think in terms of just talking about the distinctions on text to bid, it's been a subject of great discourse here. What sets us, you know, different than some of the other, you know, things out there, app-based, other kinds of things that people are using?
Now, the big differentiator with text to bid is that it's not an app. You know, the mobile bidding has sort of become a generic term, but it's not the same as text-based bidding. Mobile bidding means you bid on your phone. Well, you can bid on a website on your phone. And so what differentiates the text to bid is that it's a pure text-based system, which means you don't have to have Wi-Fi connectivity for it to work. You don't have to have a website for it to work. You don't have to go to a website and register and then be sent a link to be pulled back to the website to bid. It's literally just sending a keyword to a shortcode. Something as simple as, well, what the Boys and Girls Club Greater Salt Lake, theirs was I think it was ahead. I think it was called something. I can't remember. Go ahead, reach ahead. But it's a keyword is sent to a short code 71760 and you're in. It makes it great for large events, large sporting events, parades. Anytime you have a huge gathering of people and you want them all to be able to bid without having to pre-register, there's no app to download. They just send the keyword to a short code. We're talking to some sports teams about doing stadiums.
So, and of course, raise the paddle is something you can do directly with our technology.
Yeah, well, raise the paddle. It can be done on the phone. It can be done on a website. It can be done in the room. Every event should have a raise the paddle, because not everybody at an event can win something in the silent auction, but everybody there can give you money.
So Jay, we talk about one of the distinctions as well for MaestroSoft is that we're with you for good, and we have the ability to help you with professional services. A number of people have talked about how do we do it all.
Yeah, we want to help you make more money. I mean, we just absolutely do. We love the consulting is a big part of what we do. Obviously, we can provide professional people to work at the event, whether it's on stage as an auctioneer or behind the scenes, helping you with, with your volunteer management and your database and that sort of database management. Not required, but we have it. Some people just want the comfort of having somebody there. We can certainly do that for you. We're a complete end-to-end company now in the fundraising side of the world, as well as managing those funds in the CRM and DRM world.
And we'll be sharing the deck with you as well. I'm just going to kind of hit this. And before I head into telling you just a quick overview of ExceedFurther, the industry's only all-in-one solution. We'll talk about that. Please enter questions that you have in the chat box and the question box. So we're teed up and we can continue to ask those. Anything else you have about the software. And again, there is an offer for a free consultation and demo. And I just want to speak on that for a moment. And let you know that it's not a sales pitch. It is literally, it could be 5 minutes to help you with some questions you have to get you over a hump on something you're kind of going back and forth on a bit, or specific questions. It could be a demo of text to bid. It could be a demo of some of the other software. It could be whatever you want that to be. We're here to help you. And you'll hear us say this again, we're with you for good. So do not be concerned about that, and being swarmed on. We're obviously here. We're a company and we're a business, but ultimately we do that. We have our success by helping you, and that's what we're here to do. So I'm going to just tell you, with ExceedFurther is the only all-in-one, cloud-based, fully integrated and automated digital fundraising, donor relationship management, healthcare, hospitality, and auction software, meaning everything comes together. That's important because then you're not dealing with siloed solutions, that all have different databases, different sets of data, and it's not bringing it all together. It's going to be very important when you're doing auction events that everything you're doing is feeding into your overall donor relationship management, as it is with all of your other front-facing fundraising applications with other elements of what you're using. And that's a key part of what our distinction is. And it's been a big part of the success for organizations like Boys and Girls Clubs, multiple Boys and Girls Clubs. And we had mentioned Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Salt Lake. That is something that they actually talk a lot about. And so, here you can see all of the kinds of things. Doesn't mean someone's using all of it, but there are so many things for people to grow. And we heard the word scalability. That's a big part of what we do. You can see everything there, from unlimited donation pages to peer-to-peer fundraising to team fundraising to everything in between, and text-based kinds of things for technology, as well as the insights, the dashboards, the reporting you need to just truly be successful. Again, it's got to work on your phone. It's got to be mobilely responsive. It's with you everywhere you go. That's one thing I know if I asked right now, and I won't, but I would just say if I had each of you hold up your phone on camera, you could certainly show that, because it never leaves your side. And so from that standpoint, I'm just going to move forward to some questions here. And
back to questions. Let's get.
Yeah, we're here. We're here. You're like a step. I'm a step ahead of you. Are you having a lag there, Jay? So we're back to questions, round two. So what we've got, lots of thank yous, but there was a question here. Should as people were looking at these, I'm going to kind of scroll through them here, and I think we already answered this one. Yeah. Let's see. There was a question up ahead about. Well, there was a piece here again. I'm just going to come back at this because I think it's worth asking, and I think the audience kind of asked it as well. But it was, so much of what you're showing and saying here is is wonderful. Although a lot of it is just really, having to deal with large organizations with bigger budgets and a dedicated group of supporters with the money for these types of events. How do smaller orgs compete with larger nonprofits? And I'm going to tell you, someone chimed in right away and said, think of it as scalable. That's where I saw it.
Exactly.
Maybe your organization can't secure a $150,000 match, but can you secure a $5,000 match?
Okay, so David, remember I started off by talking about how I've been with the club for 20 years. The first event we did was $65,000.
Wow.
So every journey has a starting point. And so the point is, don't do an event as a one-shot deal. You want to do your event as one step in a long journey that's going to take you to where you want to be. If your organization is capable of raising $25,000 this year, then it's a $25,000 event. Next year, maybe it's a $50,000 event. Year after that, maybe it's 75. In 5 years, it's probably $250,000. Why? Because you put the basics in, you put the right tools in. You're not throwing a party every year and hoping it raises money, but you're building a business and making it fun and making it profitable. And that's how you have to approach it. You have to approach it, this is a business. So put in the right tools and build your plan and do continuous improvement. And that's the way you'll get there. I will offer you a quick tip right now, and that is that if you have a live auction and you are selling things at your live auction, then you're not doing it right. And I know that sounds really weird, but let me explain that. Your live auction should not be about selling items. Your live auction should be about giving guests in the room an opportunity to be generous and give you money. And you're rewarding them with a lovely parting gift. Your live auction, in most cases, should sell everything above its value. There may be cases where something doesn't sell above its value, but if you're doing it right, people are overspending in your live auction. Why? Because you've given them the opportunity to be generous. $1,000 gift certificate sells for $2,000. Happens all the time. Why? Because it's not about the $1,000 gift certificate. It's about me giving your organization $2,000 and you rewarding me with a gift certificate. So that's the attitude that your event should have. And that philosophy is at 25,000 and that philosophy is at $1 million.
Yeah.
Same philosophy. Lighting, sound, staging, showing the people a good time, eliminate the lines. Those are all basics regardless of the size of the event.
So I'm gonna keep
about
us
live before you. I know, but before you do though, David, thank you. Jay, can you talk about in terms of when we're talking about live specifically? So for those people who, but the vernacular that we're using, the difference between live and silent, it's all one event, right? Silent are the items that are on the table or on your phone. A live is when you have an auctioneer on the stage working with an MC and they're auctioning off the higher level items. Jay, tell us about the type of item that you should offer first.
The very first item that I have found over my 30 years that works the best is something that is tangible, emotional, broadly appealing, and low dollar value. Because you want to engage the whole audience right from the very first item. So if it's tangible, people can see it. The auction must be starting. It's emotional, people are bidding with their heart rather than their brain. Broadly appealing, we're going to get a lot of bid cards up in the room right away. It's not going to be 3 people bidding, it's going to be 30 people bidding. And lower dollar value, everybody can afford it, therefore everybody's engaged. That works. What is one item that I've sold literally hundreds and hundreds of times that speak to that? A fresh hot pie, a fresh hot apple pie.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer to raise $500 to $1,000. Why would someone pay $500 to $1,000 on a fresh hot apple pie? Because it has nothing to do with the pie. It has to do with the cause. It's a chance for someone to be seen and to see and be seen making that contribution. Yeah. It can be something like a big stuffed teddy bear. It could be anything for kids. It could be a basket of Beanie Babies. It doesn't matter. It can be a really nice bottle of, I'll tell you something very quickly.
A quart of milk.
A quart of, in the state of Washington, several years ago, we were told we weren't allowed to sell alcohol. And we used to sell a great big bottle of wine to start the auction. We were told we weren't allowed to do that. So Sarah Maloney from the Whatcom Boys and Girls Club has said, you know what, Jay, we can't sell wine because of the state of Washington anymore. I said, okay, get me a bottle of milk. And we sold that bottle of milk for, I don't remember how much it was, but I know it was hundreds of dollars. It was just a bottle of milk. And it was because of the joke. It was like we were making fun of the state for not letting us sell a bottle of wine. So we sold a bottle of milk and we still made money. So that's the point, folks. Think about your audience, reward them for their good behavior, give them a chance to show that good behavior.
We could go on all day and we're going to go just a few more minutes, but I do want to cover a couple things for you. And this one I'll kind of take and then see if you guys have anything to share out there. But, you know, I don't remember if this came in just now or earlier, but there was a piece there about, although we're in an affluent area and we have compelling programs, you know, domestic violence, homeless shelter, suicide prevention, intervention, lots of great causes, right? We struggle, or great, you know, pieces to our mission. We struggle to increase individual donors. We've tried even a nominal fee of 25 and struggled to get people at our last in-person event. So I'm just going to share, I feel your frustration. I know we all have looked at that and there are lots of ways that every organization is different. I think the theme that Ken shared earlier about do or do not, there is no try, is do something. And there is something you can do. And we shared a lot of different ways that we've helped organizations. And if this is right for you, we can help you understand what kinds of things might be helpful in doing that. I would just tell you, when I look at this, to the person who shared that, my brain goes, this may not be correct, but these are the kinds of things that we share on the consultation that we were offering to you is, well, you know, have you tried a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign? And that's one way to be able to extend your donor network, the people that you're reaching, by going to those who are already, you're talking about increasing, you know, your donor base and being able to, you know, find ways to do that. There's some very compelling ways to do that, both outside of an auction event, as well as you are approaching your auction event. So that's an important piece to look at. I don't know if you have anything else to share to that comment.
I would absolutely, for that particular answer, for that particular question, I would agree with you. It may be that an event is not appropriate. Because if you struggle to get people to pay $25 to come to an event, don't do an event. Yeah. People need to opt in and be able to give you money. And if they're struggling at $25, then it's a wrong audience. But a peer-to-peer campaign would be perhaps a good way to go on that. We can help you with that.
Yeah.
And this is a case where you find 10 or 15 or 20 willing people that will reach their network on a one-to-many relationship, something I like to call OPM, other people's money,
yeah.
and ask each of them to be a team captain and do a peer-to-peer. And that peer-to-peer may bring you in enough money as seed money to where you then can move on up and do an event of some kind. But there are always ways to raise money, even if an event is not appropriate.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna bring us to a close with this piece, and I think it's a very good, you know, tie into the theme. Everyone has, I'm always amazed, but this is just amazing in terms of how everyone here has contributed to this, and it always makes it better. So it's truly been interactive. And I'm going to share the last comment that came in because it's a brilliant idea and it's a wonderful way to look at the kinds of things that we all share with each other. And then we'll go into our thank yous and kind of final words. So this is from Amy Raymond, and she shared, one of my favorite things to do is reward everyone at the table of the winning bidder with a token gift related to the live auction item they've just won. If it's a trip to see an NFL team, the winner gets that, and everyone else at their table gets a Nerf football or pom-poms or something fun that ties to that item. It really is a way to increase the fun and engagement.
What a fun, great idea. And David, as a gift to everybody, I'm going to give everybody a gift on the way out with one way to make more money. Because I want to give everybody a chance to make money. I'm going to give them one thing.
Do it.
Do it. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Real simple. At the end of the auction, you let everybody know that if they will throw their bid number into a basket, you get like a laundry basket. Everybody that throws their bid number into a basket is going to be making an additional $25 donation, but you're going to pull one bid number out of the basket and they're going to win a prize.
Oh, great.
You'll be amazed. You'll sweep through the room with volunteers with baskets. You'll gather up all of those bid numbers. And every one of those is an additional $25 as they're going out the door, and somebody wins a weekend getaway or a nice dinner at a nice restaurant or something like that. It works every time. And don't forget also to ask people to round up their bill. Ask them when they check in, if you're okay and win something tonight, maybe round up your bill to the nearest $100. Every one of your successful bidders likely will answer yes. But don't ask them on the way out of the door. Ask them when they're registering on the way in. Do it. and that'll
Perfect.
add revenue as well. So there's 2 gifts for you to raise money. It was worth the price to stick around to the end.
Absolutely. And so we will be sharing this as a recording on demand with where you'll be able to see all the slides, and we'll be reaching out, to those who asked us to. And then if there are questions, as Jay promised, he'll reach out directly to anyone who had those, and certainly, provide that as well. I'm going to let you know that, this just real quickly, Arreva, tech with purpose driven by cause, as well as MaestroSoft and Arreva company. It is a holistic group. We all work across the board with everything similar to our solutions. They're all in one. Everything's cohesive. You're one organization, and we're with you for good. So there's a little bit of a description about who we are. I won't take the time to read through that, but we hope to have a chance to help you in any way that we can. I'm going to just send out my thank yous and to let you know that I want to thank Jay and Ken for their great contributions. I especially want to thank the others who have allowed us to share their success stories, including Amanda from from Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Salt Lake, and then Camilla's House also shared their story and had great success with us. I don't have the name in front of me, but they are a wonderful organization. And perhaps if you chime in, if you guys have that handy, but I'd love to thank them. And most importantly, because I don't know if she's listening today, but she will see a recording of this and she'll be with us on future things that we do. Bridget Kerr and everyone at the Boys and Girls Clubs of Coachella Valley, an amazing organization and true to form, very, very giving and generous of their story, their success, and paying it forward out to everyone else out there. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to first to Ken with any final words or thank yous.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to attend. And for those of you that are going to watch the recording because you weren't able to attend, if your questions weren't answered, please do not hesitate to reach out. It doesn't cost you anything, and we'll spend time with you. And even if you're not using our solutions now, we can certainly help you grow. But you have to start somewhere. Don't be afraid to try.
Terrific. And to close us out, Jay Fiske, if you could just give any final thoughts apart from the gifts or thank yous, and then we'll bid you all, a farewell.
I want to thank Bridget for allowing us to use her organization and her effort for the webinar. So thank you so much, Bridget. All of you, thanks for attending. And I know it's not a Star Wars theme, it's a Star Trek theme, but I'd like to encourage you all to boldly go where you used to go before. And it's time to get back in room.
I'm glad you stepped in line with us, Jay. I really appreciate that. So we want to wish everyone, a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week and weekend, and great success as you make your own returns. We're here to help. Stay safe, stay healthy, and just do it. Thank you.